Hey, Spick Gear Hunter here with a unique video to update how you create a CrossFit workout in a Garmin watch. There's been some changes to the Garmin platform. Specifically, it used to be you could do a cardio workout and push the bottom right button and it would set a lap time, and you could use that to track your time per round or a conglomeration of your rounds for time. And so you could have like a set schedule or a set lap rotation time schedule, but that's gone now. So we're looking at it two ways. In the Garmin watch itself, you have the ability to copy an activity and edit any part of that activity. And so the running profile still has that capability to press the bottom button and set your lap times or your round times. And so we can use the running, but we'll see how it puts in a lot of other stats in the final output page. So the cardio still might be the best way to go, because within the cardio app, you can at least look in the workout history and see the lap times on the watch, even if you're not able to see it on the Garmin Connect. So let's look at hands-on on how you create a CrossFit workout. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing for more. There's a lot more videos that are up on the way.
Okay, so making a CrossFit dedicated activity is really not the most complex thing in the world. So there's a generic one that I created just to sort of test, but we'll go into it and show you just how to get to it. So you go basically back down to the plus symbol, you hit add, and then you always see at the top above the laundry list of long-winded activities, you can copy an activity. So remember, because they took out the visibility of lap times in the Connect app, if you really want to see lap times in the Connect app, you have to use a run. And I'll show you the differences of how it turns out on the app itself, because I don't like the run because it has a bunch of like cadence, metrics, plus it will not show anything but running. But when you go to do a replicant of cardio and you call it, let's just make it simple. Let's go ahead and finish this while we wait. There, so we have the CrossFit labeled and set up. So just scroll back to the top, and then you can basically go in and set your data screens. So I usually set the data screen, the first one, to include maybe time of day, but average heart rate and timer. And then the second data screen, I'll usually put in a custom data screen and choose the layout. So I'll go down and pick, I just happen to like this particular design, and then it'll take you through. And the best thing about the cardio app when you're doing a copy of it is that you get all the primary aspects. So if I always want the heart rate gauge at the top, and then for field 2, I tend to want this to be my timer fields for laps, but I want to put my lap field in there. I think that's so the number of laps. So if you want the number of laps, it's in the other category. In this one, I want to time my last lap time, and then on the bottom, I tend to want to put my current lap time. So we're going to change where it's located on the screen. Okay, so we're going to put that second, and then I tend to want to add just a straight up heart rate gauge if I want to see my heart rate in full. Okay, so we're just going to put it at the bottom, then we're good, and we're not going to adjust anymore, so we'll go back. And here, if you were using a run app and trying to set up the run, you would want to scroll down until you find GPS and make sure it's off, because you don't need that burning your battery or tracking or always looking for it. So it's always off on the cardio app, so you don't have to go check that. You really just do the name at the top, the data screens, and then you click done. I set it as favorite, and boom, there it is. So when you go into start a workout, you just fire away, and you'll see time of day, average heart rate, and your timer. So I just happen to know, because I run a tight schedule, I need to know if class is going over long, whatever. But I want to see my heart rate at the top and maybe see if I'm pushing myself enough on average throughout the class in the bottom. Scroll down here, and this is where you get your laps. So like if you're doing rounds, you got to get 5 rounds through, and you want to know that you're staying on the same cadence. this lap time is going to count. Every time you push the bottom button, it's going to trigger a count. So we push the bottom button, it says you got one, round one took you 32 minutes. And I usually just start my watch at the beginning of a workout all around. And that first lap is usually everything leading up to the Metcon itself when I start tracking laps. And so now you see the last lap time was 32 seconds. And so you push it again. This is the total amount of time, and this is the last lap. But you can start to see it build, and you see your last lap time, so you can track according to how fast you want to keep your lap times in, like your average lap time. So that's how you do it, and then you fire that button and it'll stop it. And the only place you're going to see this history of laps, or the laps time itself, is in the app, so is in the watch itself. So let's say we want to see all stats. That's where you're going to see it. You'll also see it in laps. Actually, you won't see it in all stats. What am I saying? You'll see it in laps, and there you'll see your lap times. So you won't get this pretty little chart of your lap times in the Garmin Connect app itself, unfortunately. So now we've seen, we'll go ahead and delete that, and we've seen what it looks like on the watch. So let's just say we wanted to go through and we wanted to create, we're going to copy the activity because we want our lap times to live in Connect where we can see that, and we don't mind all the other problems, and I'll show you what it looks like. So we're going to copy this. I'll go through and I'll show you what it looks like. I'll build the whole thing that we just built here, but with the run, and then we'll look at the app to see what it looks like when you actually do an activity that looks the same, but it's using a different background sport activity for the future. There, I just called it CrossFit R. So I'm going to go through and set up the data screens the same way. The problem with the data screens on this one in particular is if you actually use data screens, it automatically puts a map on your data screens. So you should delete this just because it's trying to look for a GPS picture, and you don't want that. So you're going to just go through and set this. It will give you a bunch more menu options for what data fields you can apply because it's the running app, so you don't want that. You just have to take more time to go through to find the information that you want for this particular, when you're building a CrossFit dedicated profile off of a run profile background or backbone. So then again, once you get that set, you want to come down and make sure you turn off this so that you don't track GPS. And then I'll finish this out on my own, and we'll look at how it looks in the app in a second. Okay, so there's the two that I've created with cardio I was just using before. You have CrossFit, and you can see by the icon that's the cardio, and then you have CrossFit R. You see the icon, that's the R. We'll see what it looks like in a second. You don't want to use strength as the copied activity because all of the data fields will be super limited. So you'll go to look for lap data fields and they're not going to be there. So you want to use cardio because it has the biggest laundry list. And if you ever have a problem where you just want to get rid of something, you can go through and remove it all together. Because I'm not going to use that anymore, I'm going to use the one that we set up. CrossFit, that's CrossFit off the cardio, CrossFit off the run, so you can see your lap times in the app itself. Let's take a look. Okay, so what do the different profiles look like? So these red is a cardio replicated. So with cardio, you're obviously going to see the average heart rate, max heart rate, and the calories. Sort of like purposeful information if you're doing a CrossFit workout. So like this is the one that I was using, that cardio 2 that I showed you that I deleted. So when you go into the app, you're going to get just the more worthwhile stats. So you'll get the summary of stats here, but when you go into the stats page, you get kind of the things that would matter. So the training effect, obviously that's important. Your heart rate graph, important. Respiration rate, that's actually somewhat worthwhile. Elevation off the barometric altimeter, temperature, and heart rate zone. So those are more worthwhile stats that you'll get, but you'll see there's not a lap icon in the middle, so you can't access your lap in the Connect. So same thing, here I just did a multiple of laps just in this sample, and nowhere in the data fields can you see any laps or lap times. You just get the pertinent information on that side. But when you use a running, and so see again, I didn't like that. So like I changed the name of this CrossFit and this cardio copy and called it CrossFit. I changed, I made a copy of the running profile and called it CrossFit-R, but you don't see that anywhere in here. You just see running. It will never change from running. And it'll always try to show you miles at the first, even though I had the GPS turned off. It'll always show your pace, elevation gain, even though I had those things turned off. But if you do happen to like this, so the negatives are, you see those things on the front. You can't change it forever saying running, even though you retitled it something else. You're going to get the mileage, which will always say 0 if you have the things off. And you get these things like cadence that'll show in the middle. Elevation and time in the heart rate zones, that's all sort of the same. Cadence is only one stats that you don't use, but you will get this breakdown of your time per round or rounds per time, whichever you want to track in time itself. But that's sort of how it looks and how it differs. The biggest thing is just I don't like how it looks up here. You don't get the most relevant stats on this label page, and you don't get the most relevant stats, but you will get the lap count if that's of interest to you. So that's the basics for how you set up a CrossFit dedicated workout, copying certain activity options and what they will show. I tend to not look to see activity options or copy activity options if it was like elliptical, because I found that some of the data fields are missing from those aspects. So please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing for more. Thanks so much for watching.